What is the prehistoric era? You've probably heard the term, and broadly speaking, it refers to the era before historical records were kept. Our knowledge of this period is constantly expanding, in large part due to our discovery of prehistoric animals which still roam the earth, and the remains of others, like this woolly mammoth, which give us a really good idea of what roamed the earth many years ago. Hit that subscribe button and sit back to see the range of recently discovered prehistoric land and sea animals, which some of are still living to this day. Woolly mammoth. Ever dream of seeing a living woolly mammoth in person? We may be one giant step closer thanks to a recent discovery in Siberia. Researchers found a treasure trove of mammoth carcasses, and one was so well preserved it still had all of its skin. This is a big deal because scientists believe they can actually get a viable cell and genetic material sample from the remains, which will then be used to clone an actual living woolly mammoth. The question then becomes whether we just release a herd of free-range mammoths or go full Jurassic Park style. The coelacanth. Just looking at this fish, you can tell it is really old. The coelacanth existed 65 million years ago and lived around the time the dinosaurs went extinct. Wait, are we using the past tense here? That's maybe a bit misleading because more modern day discoveries have shown the coelacanth is still living deep down in our oceans. Researchers call this creature a living fossil because it is so old and such a direct link to the far distant past. The only problem is that we rarely get to see them, and sightings are often decades apart when they do occur. The oldest ant. Okay, it's not an animal technically, but it's still prehistoric, so we'll give it a go. In the Amazonian rainforest, researchers stumbled across this ant. Now, this isn't just any ant, but as it turns out, the oldest ant species ever discovered. In fact, with a name that translates to ant from Mars, this guy is believed to be one of the original ant lineages. It has large mandibles to catch prey, no eyes, and lived most of its life underground. So, just how old is this species? Well, if it's one of the first true ants, then that makes it upwards of 100 million years old. Pygmy right whale. Until just a few years ago, researchers believed that this species of whale was extinct. After all, the only evidence that had been collected was from washed up bones, and there had only been a few scattered sightings throughout the 20th century. However, this whale species is quite alive and not at all extinct. At only around 6 meters in maximum size and swimming independently or in small groups, it's pretty easy to overlook these guys. Nonetheless, researchers say recent studies show that pygmy right whale qualifies as a living fossil because most of its family lineage went extinct millions of years ago. Hula painted frog. With its white spots and very distinctive coloring, this frog liked to keep to itself, making sightings rare. Nonetheless, 60 years ago, the hula frog was believed to have gone extinct after the development in Israel destroyed its known habitat. Then a few years ago, a park ranger spotted one of these elusive little guys and reported the find. So what's the big deal? Well, the hula painted frog belongs to a family of amphibians that lived across Europe for millions of years. Then around 15,000 years ago, they all went extinct, except for the hula. That makes it a living fossil and a big deal to researchers. Mini megalodon. If you followed our channel, then you likely saw our video on the megalodon, the prehistoric shark that some people think, or rather wish, was still around today. In 2016, scientists discovered another prehistoric shark. This one is believed to have been the size of a car and is a relative of the infamous megalodon. Across the Atlantic and Pacific Oceans, several 2-inch long teeth have been discovered from this extinct prehistoric shark, which researchers place at around 20 million years old. Pai Lau cave eel. Eels can be creepy, kind of like snakes. However, in this instance, this particular eel turned out to be a big deal. Discovered in underwater caves found around the island of Pai Lau is an eel so unlike any other we know of that researchers created an entirely new family to put it into. In fact, the Pai Lau eel shares more in common with eels that lived millions of years ago than today's more common species that scientists have labeled it a living fossil. So, how old is it? Well, researchers say this particular eel has features which show it existed as far back as the Mesozoic era, making it a true living fossil. Killer croc. Today's saltwater crocodiles can get pretty big. However, a recent discovery has shown that in terms of crocodiles throughout Earth's history, today's crocs are actually quite small to what once roamed the land and waters. In Tunisia, researchers uncovered the remains of a truly terrifying prehistoric crocodile. Dubbed Macamasaurus rex, these fossils revealed a crocodile that was over 30 feet long and weighed 3 tons. Living upwards of 120 million years, Macamasaurus would have been an ocean-going croc, capable of taking down land animals and large sea turtles when it got hungry. big bird. In 2014, scientists identified the largest flying bird so far recorded. The bones of the Pelagornis had been found decades ago, but no one knew what exactly they were until recently. Living around 25 to 28 million years ago, these massive birds had a 7-meter wingspan, which is twice that of the current largest living bird, the royal albatross. With hollow bones, this meant the Pelagornis had no trouble cruising around in the air, although they think its sheer size made takeoff quite a bit of a challenge. Human ancestors. We like to think we know almost everything, but the truth is that we don't even know the full story of our own development. A bit of that puzzle was recently answered after a cave in South Africa was found to contain remains of numerous individuals belonging to the extinct species Homo naledi. The discovery is so new that researchers aren't sure where this fits into our history of evolution. That said, they have suggested the remains date these early human ancestors to anywhere from 1 to 2 million years ago. That's our video, folks. Thank you so much for watching. While you're here, why don't you let us know what you thought of these crazy prehistoric animals down in the comments below, like this video, check out these other videos, and of course subscribe to The Richest so you can hear us talk about weird things every day. Thanks!